Tollefson. Hey, welcome to my studio, and thank you for joining me. I'm excited today because we have a really good topic, and it's all about how to compose a painting, how to start and design a painting, landscape painting, so that your paintings are more successful. And it's important to have a good design when you first start your painting. I'm gonna take you through all the steps of how to do this and how to start your painting, what to do, that kind of thing. And I'll also, I've got 6 things I'm going to show you here. And hey, Gray, great to see you. Thank you for joining. And so today's topic is going to be, I think, hopefully a really good one that's going to be helpful to you. So just to start, I've got acrylic paint. Any of the topic here can be done with acrylics, with oil, with watercolor, colored pencil, anything like that. And then I've just got a palette knife, and I've got some small little brushes. And how are you doing, Gray? And also thank you for everyone who's joining, and it's great to have you here. We've got American Painters. I've got a 10. This is called a chisel blender. I've got a couple of those, and filberts. I picked those out of my little stash of brushes, of my small brushes. So I'm picking these size brush just because normally I try and work with as large a brush as possible in a little space, and so I've got these kind of medium size. I'd call this kind of a medium size for a painting. And then American Painter filberts, and these filberts are called filberts because of the round edge, size 12 and a size 10. The 10 is the smaller and the 12 is the bigger guy. So, all right, very good. Let me show you a little bit about the colors. In doing a design, when you lay out your design for your painting, something to really think about is trying to connect your darks and connect your lights. And yes, I'm doing well, Gray, and it's good to hear from you. And okay, so I've mixed up a dark color for landscape, and that is a combination of this yellow. So we really only have just a few colors today. So I've got primary yellow, phthalo blue red shade, my husband's favorite, a yellow ochre, titanium white, and Mars black. Get this guy over here so you can see Mars black. And the colors that we're going to use, I just mixed up a super dark green that we'll use. We'll use this light blue for the sky. And we use this green that you see here. This green was mixed with the yellow, the primary yellow, and just a little touch of Mars black and some of the titanium white. So, all right, so let's get started. Now the key here, when you're laying out a painting or starting a painting, is thinking about getting as much drama as you can in that painting and then just developing it from there. And you might be some of these design ideas here, and I'm not toning the canvas. I'm just going to do it just plain white. This is just a little canvas board, a little 11 by 14, and you can make your own versions of this, and I encourage you to do that because it's a neat way. You can just kind of keep these in your studio, and you can do when you do this. I'll just lay in a little low horizon here. This first one's going to be if you're painting what we'll call like a sky painting. So, but these little sketches like this, these are called thumbnail sketches, these little short little things. What's nice about a thumbnail sketch is it's just a fast little thing, and when you are done, you can save it, and if you run out of ideas of what to work on, then you can just pull out your sketch ideas, and then you're set to go. And I'm just wiping off. I've got some water here. I've got a couple containers. These are just old recycled. This is an ice cream container. This is a sherbet. You can tell we like to have our sherbet and that kind of thing. And then I've also got just some paper towels that I'm wiping off on. So in fact, I'm going to put this over here so I can get my paper towels closer. There we go. Okay, so in a composition, when you're laying this out, the idea would be that you can, ideally you don't put your painting with the horizon in the very, very center. You want to either pick something lower or something higher. Now when you pick something lower, like we're doing here, then what ends up happening is you get what's something that's really favoring the sky, or is more of a sky painting. And so let's get something going right here. And then, so this one is going to be called, and Brenda Maxon. Hey Brenda, great to see you, Brenda. Okay, this is called a low horizon or a sky, and it will have symmetrical balance. Now you might wonder, well, what is symmetrical balance? And we'll get into that. You're a fan of sky paintings. Yeah, you know, Gray, I love to paint sky paintings. I think that they're just a lot of fun to do. They are, what I like about a sky painting is that you can do a lot up here in the sky, and then it's really, the focus is really the sky and not necessarily the ground. And an idea with picking a successful painting, it's almost like when you decide, are you going to do, when you're doing, for example, you know, deciding what to wear, and it's like, okay, well, I should pick one focal point, or am I going to have the jewelry be, you know, like here I've got bracelet and ring, but I'm not going to have also, you know, 10 different necklaces and have on, say for example, you know, earrings and, you know, the whole thing. You kind of pick what you're going to be focusing on. And that's true on a painting too. You want to think about, on your paintings, think about what do you want your focal point to be. And it's important to, you know, to pick that and then work with that and stay with that. All right, so here would be an example. And I'm just laying in, and so you can already see we already get a start with just putting in just black and white. And you can do a painting with just only black and white. Now this is actually not black and white, it's black plus yellow with a little bit of yellow. But I'm just laying this in, and I'm going to do these and show you how in just kind of really 4 colors. This is the U shape for the U that you get. I'm going to accentuate that a little bit more. This is a U-shaped composition. There we go, so there. Okay. But what's neat about just doing it really just in kind of in black and white, or getting the black and white started first, is if you do that, then what will happen is you will find, and notice how all the darks are connecting. If you do that, you'll find it much easier to take the painting and then finesse it from there. In other words, adding other colors, other shapes, that kind of thing. But see how that's all connecting, and when we connect that all, then our eye, what our eye wants to do is our eye wants to go in and understand something. So our brain and our eyes, even on super complex paintings, I mean, you can take any of these and make them extremely complex. But what happens is when we do that, our eye, it makes our brain happy when we can see a simple shape. There's something very pleasing about that. So this is a high horizon, or this is more of a land painting, and it has asymmetrical balance. So, so thinking about a horizon, so here's the low horizon, and you can see that the sky, it's more about the sky, and here, and you can really put your horizon wherever you want. You can have your horizon, you know, like up here, and just a little bit of sky and almost all land. But here, this is really going to be, you can see this is going to be a painting more about the land. All right, so, and there are so many variations and different types of compositions that you can do. I'm just showing a few that I personally like to do. Some favorites of mine. And you'll recognize, if you're familiar with my work, you'll recognize some of these compositions actually. These are ones I use all the time. And then varying the colors, varying, you know, all these other things. This is how, you know, this is really how a person starts the painting, and you kind of go from there. If you go back and study, you know, some of the old masters, and especially the Baroque period, they were really amazing at doing these compositions. They really focused on that. And the composition, when you think about it, you really have you have a dark, you have a light, and you have a medium color. And when you do that, that's really all you need in a painting, and anything that you add beyond that is just detail. So this one is going to be an S shape, and as I put the other colors on, you'll see how these work out. S-shaped composition. Okay. Hey, Art Journey with Swapna. Hey, Swapna, how are you? Thank you for joining, and thank you also for everyone who's joining in. Any likes that you give, I appreciate. Appreciate any likes. That's always a nice thing. All right, now this next one. This one is one that I use just tons of time in my work. This next one. And this I do, this is, you know, if you think about a low horizon over here, and then a high horizon, which is really focusing on the land. This is a composition that I use when I'm doing a lot of my pond series paintings. And with that, I am making a shape, and it's really, you're only looking, you don't see any sky, you only see maybe a reflection of the sky, but you only see really the abstract shapes of the darks and that kind of thing, but it's just that you are kind of just contained within a pond. And this shape is called a, you're doing well. Okay, thank you for these, thank you, Swapna. All right, so this composition is called a C shape. And the C, because it forms the letter C, and the light and all the things that you do with the composition all then promote this idea of the C. Where the U shape, we have a U, an up, inverted U, and here an up U, an inverted U. It's just really, if you think of that turned on its side. But the C shape is a very powerful composition that you can do. All right, and this next one, and the last one here that we're going to be doing today is, I'm going to get something going here. Just dipping my brush in the water. Okay, and then this one, we'll get the little dark going here. So this one now is what we call, there's a combination of this one. This one is called the cruciform. Plus a diagonal. So diagonals are really important. Anytime that you can incorporate a diagonal in your work, that's always a good and powerful thing to do in your composition. Diagonals lead the eye across, and especially in landscape work, it's important to get diagonals. So I'm going to be adding in a diagonal then of dark. So I've got our darkest colors marked in. If you're painting along with me, there's my little dirty water here. If you're painting along with me, you know, put your darks in first. That's a nice, just easy way to get it all started. So I could use the same brush, or I could go with a different brush. Let me grab a light one. I'm gonna go in now and add in the light colors. You don't see the S in the S shape. Okay, Brenda, what's gonna happen is I'm gonna be, when I put the ground, this part in, you'll see I'm gonna be creating a serpentine or an S with the way the light goes. So be watching for that when that happens. You can also think of this as some curving S shapes like that, as opposed to just straight lines. Kind of undulating is the S shape. See how these are more upright, these are more upright, and these are more of a curving. But that's a great question. And thank you for asking that, actually, Brenda, because, yeah, okay. Because when you go in and actually I'll use a little larger brush here. When you're painting, it's important to have the shape already in your mind, what you'd like to do for the painting. Now, the other big important thing on any kind of a landscape composition is the value. And the value of what you're working on, or the value of the paint or the colors, if you're painting, if you're colored pencil, what colors you're selecting, how dark you make them, watercolor, that kind of thing. The thing that is key is the value. So let me show you what I mean by that. I'm going to move this dirty water over here. And we'll just set this guy in here. So here's the value scale. And you may have seen me talking about the value scale in other videos. So the values go from all the way 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And it is, this is really the key to a successful painting, is your values, what values you're using. So the rule is, and I'm just going to set this, put the brush in the water. Let me show you what the, whoops. Okay, I'm going to grab a piece of paper. Okay, this is just a little piece of gessoed canvas. I'm just going to write on here and show you. But what you want to do is you want to think about the value scale like this. And it's everywhere. So if you think about 5 equal pieces, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, kind of equal. And think of the value scale if you laid it all the way out. You've got your dark all the way to your light. So this is going to be a value 10, which is light, and this is going to be the value 1, which is black. And what you want to do is you want your sky to be here. The sky always needs to be the lightest color possible. Because if you look at the sky is always super, super light relative to the land. Your land is going to be here. Your sky is going to be here. And then your trees and verticals need to be your darks. And if you can keep always this, so if this is black on the scale, so here's our 10. So if this is black and this is white, and then the colors, the values are moving all along here, then you want this to be, so here's your black, here's your white, and here's also like that. And then you get all the way over to just white with this grayscale. So these grayscales are, and does that make sense, you guys, when I'm explaining it that way? Does that make sense? You want to have your sky. Oh, and you know what I did? Oh no, whoops, actually it's the opposite. Oh no, it's the opposite. This, your sky, let me redo it. So here's your grayscale. This is the white, and this is the black. Ooh, that was a problem. Okay, here's white. So here's your sky, needs to be in the light colors. Your trees and your vertical elements need to be over here in the black. And then things like the land and water need to be in the middle values. Okay, hopefully that made sense. Okay, the other way, yeah. All right, so I'll show you what I mean by and how we do that in the paint. So let me get the paint and show you that. That was kind of crazy. My goodness, we had the grayscale all flipped on its side. So in the darks, for example, I'm gonna hold this up really closely. If you peek through there, you can see that this really dark color that I've got here is almost a 1 or a 2, almost black. All right, and it makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense, Gray, exactly. And the sky color that we're using, you see how much lighter that is? If you peek through and look at your grayscale, and you can see that the color is almost, squint at it, that's about a 9, maybe an 8, about a 9 in the scale. And then white, of course, is, here's white. White's a 10. And then here's black, and black is a 1. But on the colors, now the grass color that we made, or the ground, is going to be one of these middle shades. So if you squint and look at that, we've got probably about a, here we've got about a 7, and then for that grass color, we have, that's about a, or the land, that's about a, say a 4 or 5, something like that. So when you mix your colors and plan your painting ahead, you want to be thinking about that and be very conscious to not put the, to have enough variety and then have them connecting. And let me show you what I mean by that. So I'm gonna get another one of these little scrap papers here. And if I were to just draw 2 compositions, let's say I wanted to do 2 of them. And let's just say that I took, and I say, oh, I love this, you know, I love this blue sky color, so let me pick this blue. And I'll just paint a blue sky. And then let's say that I want to do some green grass. So I'm just going to grab some green. And just paint a green like that. And the colors are pretty and that kind of a thing, but what happens is, and then if I say, oh, and I'm going to put some trees in. And so now let me put some trees in along at the edge, at the top. What happens is it's just kind of blah. And that's because we don't have enough value. So instead, if I say I want to have a blue sky, and if I go in instead and do a lighter blue, a blue that's closer to white or closer to the value on the scale, it's closer, you see that this blue, this light blue is closer to the light colors. So if I get in a blue sky like that, and then if I pick a land color, that's going to be maybe something like this, all of a sudden, this is already more dynamic. Let me just get this on here. And then what if I did now a dark color, a super dark color, almost black, to create something dynamic. And just put in, you know, some type of some trees like that, like we have there. And then went in and just softened the edge. You can see that that is all of a sudden a more dramatic painting, and it's the start of it's the start of something. So by choosing our values, I'll just soften the edge. And I'll soften the edge on this side too, just to be fair to this guy. Soften this transition and soften this transition. But you can see between option 1 and option 2, this one is going to make a more successful painting, this guy here. So this is, we'll give him a smiley. Let's give him a little smiley. And then this one is kind of like a meh. It's kind of like, it's not, nothing exciting is happening with this. But this kind of a thing, it's like you can just, you know, change this, and you can now add other elements in it and, you know, do whatever you want. And all of a sudden now you start to get a dynamic thing. But if I did the same thing, now let me add a tree in that same green. We'll just add a green over here. And what's happening is I'm just kind of chasing colors because I don't have the, yeah, okay, good, all right, thank you. And so you see that by having the right values, all of a sudden we can make a really dynamic composition. So it's the values and it's the, like so. And you might wonder, why am I leaving a gap between the blue sky and then the land? I'm just leaving a little bit of the color, the light color. For the S shape, we're going to get that color going in here. For the C shape, and then also while I'm painting this edge here, I'm going to give you guys things down from their neck. He doesn't have any, he's an older gentleman turkey, and Featherston is kind of bullied by the other turkeys, which, so he's a male turkey, he doesn't get this. Now that we've got the light blue, this is going to be our lightest color, or our sky color. And if we go back in with a little bit of the way down to the foliage, if we go in and instead just soften that with white, we can make it even more dramatic. Blue. And be as dramatic as possible. You want to have some areas of drama, then that's always a good thing. I know that the internet is spooling. I don't know if you guys are having that same problem. Isn't it? Yeah, buffering, exactly. Yeah, I'm buffering too, Gray. That's just crazy. It's nothing can be done, right? Okay. All right, so now that we have our light area and our darkest area, now the important thing is the in-between colors. So a common thing that people will have a tendency to do is they will go in, so like let's say we wanted this to be water, and then maybe have some land here. So let me go with a little land mass here. We'll get a little bit of this going. And I'm going to do it diagonal because diagonals are always a good thing in painting. We'll get a little diagonal shape going here. But if I wanted to do this as water, I'd be safe doing this as my watercolor with the specifically like a white house, something like that. In which case you want to try and work with your landscape. Otherwise it won't be convincing. Because in nature, if you just hang on, it's correct. All right, so if I go in here and these little compositions are called thumbnail sketches. And it's called a thumbnail sketch because it's just the size of or a plan for how you're gonna, an idea for how you're gonna execute your work. And if you, you actually can do the sketch and then lay it out and then come back to it later. And what's neat is you can, or I want to do, you know, something else somewhere else, then you can see that U shape that we have here. And you can always modify your thumbnails. Too. Yes, and good to see you, Donna, by the way. Thank you everybody for joining, and any likes, I would appreciate any likes that you give too. It's wonderful. So so now that we've got, so this little guy is now the U shape, and you can see them balanced. And when we say that it's going to be symmetrical and balanced of white over here, and all of this really, the composition in and adding more detail and finessing it until it looks how you want. Okay, so this paper towel, I'm going to move him over here. We'll start a new one. Now I got a little, Okay, so back to this low horizon introduction to the front of the painting. So when you're doing this and you're laying out your composition, if you go in green or a darker front, the very front of the painting, even on still life, they'll go in and put the front of a table surface, that kind of thing. And what that does is that pushes your there. And you know, when you're working on your painting, you know, however, and again, this is only put in this, the more and more, go ahead and work on our diagonal a little bit. I'm going to show you, I'm going to take some of this green and just make a dark statement up here in a diagonal. And we'll just connect. See that strong? We have a shape going like that. And then the front of it, you can have, these could all be done in reds and oranges. I'm just choosing kind of traditional landscape colors for this. But really this, and now let's come in with the light area in another diagonal. So you can just kind of stack your diagonals. Someone who was really good at diagonals was Grant Wood on his. If you are familiar with Grant Wood, the painter, he's from Iowa also. I'm from Iowa landscapes. And so we can see we can get a strong diagonal there. Of our horizon over there. There we are. And we'll just go in, make a little bit of a loose, and we do really any kind of a thing, animals is alive. So I can go in now with this value. So on the value scale, picking again a darker value that's going to bridge between the super dark that we have and the light. And I'm also, right now it looks like because it's always nice to include water in a painting. So again, because the sky was this light, super light color, then I'd have to use a darker color because aquarium or something. But for landscapes, we want to be sure that our water is always darker than our sky. And if we don't make it darker, then it will not be convincing. But on the replay, then you can see, we should be able to see everything at the end. All right, so let's work now on this high horizon. Water in here. So maybe it's like I'm imagining maybe like in the Everglades or like a swamp, something like that in a land. And then let's say that we have now a body of water that moves out this way. This is a compositional method to bring the eye into the painting, to draw the eye in. And because this is a high horizon land thumbnail, then what we're getting with that is the idea of